What's up? Welcome to Halloween month. I know this isn't really the video to kick off Halloween month, but just because it's Halloween month doesn't mean I'm gonna skip out on the geek stuff, yo. So as you know, me and my buddy Tea Kettle have a new podcast called Let's All Go to the Lobby, and right now we're working on getting it on Spotify and SoundCloud because, as it has been clearly shown, people don't really watch podcasts, or listen to podcasts rather, on YouTube. They really don't. So we're working on getting that podcast on the better platforms for you guys to listen to it other than YouTube. I was going to do a separate video review of Venom. However, our movie review of Venom really encapsulated everything we thought about the film. I think we explained it very eloquently, and I really want to share that to you. So what I'm going to do is take the segment where we reviewed Venom on the podcast and make it its own separate video. This is just a little intro for you guys, but spoiler alert, we didn't like the film. Let's do it.
The main event, baby.
The main event time. We are going to review right now Sony's Venom in the bad boy denim.
I'm not as enthusiastic about it.
No, that was from the song.
What is it from?
Eminem's song at the end credits. He's like, Venom!
I did not. No, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, you didn't catch that?
I was talking with my friends.
Well, yeah. Venom in the bad boy denim. Like, that's a real line in the song.
With the ballpoint denim.
Oh, boy.
So, Venom is a film that we saw yesterday. And I tried to use my free ticket to see it, because I have a free ticket. And I couldn't, because there's a 2-week limit on it, which made the experience even worse.
Yeah.
Because Venom is, in a word, hot garbage.
A dumpster fire.
Dumpster fire. I'm sorry, like, I don't like to hate on films usually, but man, this one was tough. This one was tough. Venom is Sony's first foray into a Spider-Man-less SpiderVerse. Which I know what you're thinking. That sounds stupid as hell.
It is.
Yes, it is. And you need to tell Sony that. Because, first of all, let me get this out of the way first. People have been talking about this film. I've heard some people, even on TV today, they were reviewing it on like this talk show. People calling this a Marvel film. This is not a Marvel film. This is a Sony film.
It doesn't connect to anything.
It doesn't connect to anything. This is made in association with Marvel because it's a Marvel character. But Marvel has no creative say in this film. This is not connected to the MCU. This is Sony basically using one of the only properties they have after selling Spider-Man back to Marvel to basically make a Spider-Man universe without Spider-Man. And, oh my gosh, you can't have Venom without Spider-Man. This movie proves that, basically.
Where do we even start with this?
I don't even know where to start with this.
I think I'll just start with the introduction being super fast. It's like they had to speed run it, and then by that point I was like, yeah, I'm not going to care about any of these
First
characters.
of all, off the bat, this is written by the same woman who wrote 50 Shades of Grey. You can tell.
It shows.
The dialogue of this film is the worst.
And it's not just the turd one.
No, the turd in the wind.
Which is, they still kept it.
They kept that, which is so dumb. Because, by the way, in the trailer, when Jenny Slate said Symbiote, people complained about it, saying that it was stupid. So they actually changed that in the film. So it's hilarious to me that they changed that in the film due to the reaction.
But they didn't change the
But they didn't change the turd in the wind, even though that had an even bigger reaction to how bad that line was.
Symbiote.
You're right. I don't even know where to start. Okay, so
it hurts my head.
The dialogue is super cliche to the point where there's a zoom in on people's characters. They're like, you can't pilot that alone. I'm not alone. I freaking laughed there were so many times in this film I just shook my head.
There was a couple times that I laughed out loud, but never to any joke.
Never.
Just how bad the jokes were.
The comedy in this film is so awkward. I didn't know if it was supposed to be comedic. There's a scene with Tom Hardy in a restaurant that's supposedly supposed to be playing for laughs. It's not funny. It's awkward.
It's super weird.
And that just encapsulates this film. It's awkward. Freaking Tom Hardy's performance, even from before he's Venom, is so weird.
He felt like he was drunk the entire time he was on set.
Like, for real. He really was. I don't know if I should blame it on him as an actor, which I don't think I should because he's a great actor. Should I blame it on the director or the script? Because the script, like, when you're handed these lines, it's very hard to make these lines
be good if they're not good.
You could be the best actor in the world, man. These lines are not going to come out.
That's what
good.
George Clooney said.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, the script is just bad, and it's so paint by numbers, and it's so cliche to the point where this film feels like a film that should have come out in 2004. It looks like it was written in 2004. To the point where even Tom Hardy takes out newspaper. First of all, no one gets newspapers anymore. Nobody gets newspapers.
Starts circling them.
He starts circling the job opportunities in the newspaper.
Why not just use Indeed?
Just you go online. This is what I'm talking about. It has elements of a film that was made for 2004. I'm like, this seems like a superhero film that was made during the time of Daredevil or Ang Lee's Hulk.
Yep, before
you know
they started up the MCU.
Exactly. This looks like a pre-MCU film, and I just can't believe that they fell victim to this trap.
Yeah. There's the logic in this. There's so many
What
instances. There's so many instances where we're like, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. We were like coming up with stuff as we were walking to the car.
And then here's the thing: you have Tom Hardy, Riz Ahmed, Michelle Williams, Oscar-winning actress, isn't she, or Oscar-nominated? Whatever.
She's been nominated.
Yeah, wasted. All three of them are wasted.
Wasted,
especially Michelle Williams. Totally wasted. They're sleepwalking through the film.
I think out of anybody, Tom Hardy's the most wasted. I think he's one of the best actors alive right now.
Yeah, and then they freaking... What was that? What was the decision there? To make him like this twitching, like, crackhead, like, weirdo.
Well, that's the thing. He always plays characters like this. This is his most normal role, and he's still insane.
Yeah, it's just... And it would be fine if he was like that after he got Venom, because you would get it. But he acts like that before Venom, even. And honestly, I just... again, I don't... Okay. All right, let's back up for a second. So... Here's a huge plot hole that I thought of, which I don't know.
I have one for you too.
Okay, so what I'm thinking of is light spoilers, but not really. Tom Hardy is dating Michelle Williams' character, which, by the way, I don't even know why they're dating, because no chemistry, first of all. And then secondly, they just seem so opposite on the life spectrum. Like, he's like this down and out loser who's barely getting by, and she's like this accomplished whatever. Here's the thing, though. She works for the Villains Corporation, right? Mm-hmm. He gets the interview because of going through, like, he gets, like, his gotcha journalism question because he went through confidential emails from her that were sent to her.
Yeah.
She gets fired for that. And then it's just never mentioned that she worked there. Ever. Even when they bring her back into the story, they don't bring her back because she knows Carlton Drake's company. No. They just bring her back because out of necessity to have a love interest.
Because they paid her.
Yeah, because they paid her. Instead, Jenny Slate's character should have been her. It should have been her. Because, and again, light spoilers here, she knew that they were running human trials with the symbiotes because they sent her the confidentiality email. But then they just fire her, and then that's it. That's the last snippet of connection that she has with the company. Why did she even have that connection with the company in the first place if they just sever that connection and then never explain it again?
I got one for you too.
All right, go ahead.
When they're going into the science facility,
yeah,
we were talking we're like, why doesn't anybody just notice it on camera? If it's so important and they have all these like artifacts and stuff, why
there are no cameras?
Yeah, why aren't they watching it all the time?
Yeah.
Then they sneak in and stuff.
It was way too easy, by the way.
It was way too
easy to get
easy
into that facility. It reminded me of the Amazing Spider-Man when Peter Parker just walked into a room with super spiders.
But then they find out because I'm assuming they have videos to show that this person was in there. Why did they have to ask her who it was?
Right.
He's had a history with the company.
Yeah.
And he's famous.
Yeah.
That was really stupid.
Yeah, so mine was more of a storytelling gripe, and yours was like a plot hole.
Yeah.
And it just shows how just crazy this film is, even to the point where the littlest of continuity is wrong. There's a part where Carlton Drake gives his pin to a little kid. In the very next scene, he has the pin on his lapel again. You couldn't CGI that out or something?
That scene, I forgot about that scene because it's super funny. The girl asks a question, and he's like, no, she will not be silenced. Asking questions is good, and then never answers the question. She never even finds out what the question is.
She never even answers it.
Oh, God.
My God. Oh, my God. Excuse me, I have a question. Shh. No, don't shush her. People should ask questions. You know who asks questions? The future leaders of America. Here's my pin. All right, that's the end of the tour, everybody. We're not going to...
That was so bad.
My God. So... And I know what you're thinking. Oh, you're just nitpicking. No. This is not nitpicking.
It's filled to the brim with stuff like this.
filled to the brim with stuff like this. First of all, the symbiote in this movie is not the symbiote from the comics. But it sort of just makes up its own rules. In the comic books, Once the symbiote attaches to somebody, it knows everything about that person's life. Everything. Not only everything about that person's life, but it knows everything about the previous hosts. That's what made Venom such a scary villain for Spider-Man. Because once Eddie Brock was bonded with the Venom symbiote, who, by the way, Eddie Brock also had a grudge against Spider-Man because he blamed Spider-Man for his life. That's what made Venom so scary. Because he bonded with the symbiote, Venom knew who Spider-Man was. He knew he was Peter Parker. He knew about Aunt May. He knew about Mary Jane. He knew where Spider-Man would work. He was immune to Peter Parker's spider sense because of the symbiote. It made Venom a scary villain. Here, I thought they were doing that because when he bonds with the symbiote says, I know everything about you. I know everything about you, Eddie. I know everything about your life. Except about your girlfriend, because he's like, I know everything about you. And then in the next scene, he gets a call from his girlfriend, played by Michelle Williams.
Who's that?
And then the symbiote's like, who's that? Like, are you serious? You know, what?
Just check his fucking memory banks.
Like, I don't... It's just ridiculous. Oh, and by the way, in the comics, the symbiote isn't sentient in that way. And I know I'm not like a guy who like strives for 100% comic accuracy here, but I think it would have been cooler. Spider-Man 3 was more comic accurate, by the way, to the symbiote than this film. The symbiote doesn't actually come out and talk to you. It's not its own separate personality. It doesn't control you in the sense that it's literally a voice talking to you. The symbiote in the comics takes over you, but it takes over you without you knowing. It takes over and like changes your personality. You know what I mean? So in the comics, Spider-Man started to become more violent and more like evil, but he didn't know it was happening because the symbiote would take over almost like a drug. It doesn't actually talk to you as a voice in your head. They're not two different personalities. And I get it, there's a whole we thing with like Venom, but like with Spider-Man, it's like in the symbiote, that's not what the symbiote does. And again, I don't strive for comic accuracy, but the whole thing of what makes Venom interesting in the comic books is Spider-Man. He becomes Venom because of Spider-Man. He has a spider on his freaking chest. And they don't even have it.
I wouldn't have minded the talking back and forth if there was like an actual like identity crisis or something interesting about it. Yeah. There was nothing like that. It was just all bad dialogue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I heard a lot of people say that the best part to them was the dynamic between the suit and I
never felt that way.
And yeah, I never felt that way either. There's a film that was released this year called Upgrade, which did it 10 times better and is almost the exact same premise of a guy who has a voice in his head. I mean, I know you don't know the basic premise of Upgrade?
I don't know anything.
You don't know anything about it?
That's why I wanted to see it so bad.
Okay, then I won't even.
But no, you're fine. I get it now.
There's a similar premise of a guy who has a voice in his head, and he almost does the same thing Venom does, but it's told in a much better way, in a much more engaging of a story. Again, once you take Venom and remove the most interesting aspect about him, which is his relationship to Spider-Man, you remove everything interesting about the character. And I'm not saying they could have made an original story regarding Venom, but with the comics, you're already engaged into Venom because of his relationship to Spider-Man. And then you remove that completely. You have to create a new origin with him. Venom started as a villain, like a full-blown villain, and then became sort of an anti-hero. Here, he almost just seems like a good guy out the gate.
See, not for me. Like, he was giving me the vibes that he was, but then at one point he's like, we're going to just destroy the world, and we might keep you around. Do you remember something like that?
Yeah, like you mean the symbiote said that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got
no. Like, I'm talking about Eddie Brock.
I got conflicting vibes from the symbiote.
Well, yeah, there was conflicting vibes from the symbiote, but I'm saying in the comics, he was a straight villain. Venom was a straight villain for a long time before he became this.
Oh, you're saying like not the symbiote. You're saying like Venom.
Yeah,
when he attaches to Eddie Brock.
Yeah, exactly. Oh. So Venom is because in the comics, Eddie Brock is somewhat. There's more of a back and forth than there was between the symbiote and Spider-Man. That's why he says we. But the reason he says we in the comics is because the symbiote attached to him and they both had a grudge against Spider-Man. So that's why it's almost like two people fighting Spider-Man in a way. You know what I mean? Mm. So what I'm saying is like Eddie Brock seemed like a good guy out the gate. When in the comics, no. He wanted revenge. Like in Spider-Man 3. Which, by the way, I defended Spider-Man 3 last week, and after this film, I'm going to say it, the Venom in Spider-Man 3 is better than this Venom. It's way better than this Venom. There was more attachment to the Venom in Spider-Man 3 than in this film.
I think that's why they tried to make him a good guy. It's because if you're making just like a like a shitbag as like the main focus of the film, why would people connect to that?
Yeah, but it's like I think you can have a shitbag as the main guy of the film and make it interesting though. Because even the trailer was like, the world has enough superheroes. Dude, you're a superhero, bro.
He's a superhero.
You are a superhero. You are not an anti-hero, okay? You're not Deadpool.
He didn't feel like an anti-hero.
No, he felt like a straight hero. And by the way, the symbiote's motivation for wanting to destroy the world and then all of a sudden wanting to save it. Came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then it's funny because even Eddie Brock is like, "Why? What changed your mind?" And then this is literally explained in one line. He's like, "Because of you, Eddie." That's it. What does that mean?
I don't know.
You've been bonded to this guy for like 2 seconds, and it's like all of a sudden now he like made you realize that you want to save the world now.
That movie went by really quickly too.
It did.
Not in a good way either.
Did.
It's just real rough.
It is rough. And then Riz Ahmed playing the typical paint-by-numbers billionaire industrialist guy who's the villain out of nowhere for some stupid reason. They chose a really obscure character from the comics to be the villain, which is Riot. And by the way, Riot, who's silver, is fighting Venom, who's black, in the dark. I didn't know what the hell was happening.
I did not know either. Wow.
I couldn't tell. The action in this film is so incoherent because they basically just turned Venom into like glue. Like what is happening? When they were fighting each other, you can't tell what's happening. It reminded me of like Transformers. Like when you just have gray clunks of like gears fighting each other.
In the dark.
It's like, what is happening?
I don't even think if you bumped it up to the rated R, I know that was a concern for some people, it would have made it any better. Even though there are a lot of times when it like just bites the head off of people and there's just like no blood. They could have made it like funny, like just really gory deaths and stuff, but it could not have saved this movie.
They wanted it to make it PG-13 because they want the possibility that it'll connect to the MCU. Marvel's not going to let that happen, especially after seeing this. Marvel's like, you keep your shit because we ain't accepting this. Okay?
Yeah.
And,
or that kids are going to go see it because it's PG-13.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it might be all right.
Which is weird because Fox has been making rated R superhero films for a while now with Deadpool 1 and 2, and they had Logan, and New Mutants is going to be R. So it's like Fox has the balls to do it. Why didn't Sony have the balls to do it, man? Sony just doesn't understand. I don't know why they're the only studio that seems not... As for as much crap as Fox gets for their X-Men films, which I think is a little unjustified, look at what Sony's doing. They don't understand their audience at all. These films are nothing but cash grabs. This film, again, seems like it should have been made in 2004 with Evanescence doing the soundtrack. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just... It seems like it was made in 2004 or 2006. You know, it's just no.
And the fact that it's not connected to anything is there's really no reason to see this. It's not an entertaining movie. If you're gonna make a one-shot film, you gotta make it entertaining.
I'm gonna spoil this for you right now. There's no connection to Spider-Man. If you're going into this film because you're hoping for a connection to Tom Holland or Marvel in any way, there's nothing. Don't go into the film expecting a cameo from Spider-Man.
Don't go into the movie.
Don't go into the movie. We're not trying to tell you what to watch, but
we wouldn't recommend it.
We would not recommend it. And again, because Sony can't even get superhero films right, they couldn't even get the end credits right. First of all, or the post-credit scene. First of all, there's both of them. First of all, there's two of them. The mid-credit scene, by the way, is not only extremely obvious what they're going to set up. I knew what they were going to set up immediately. They choose a surprise cameo from a certain somebody, which I already knew was going to happen because it was already announced that he was in the film. When I was watching the film and hadn't seen him yet, and I'm like, okay, he's obviously going to be in the mid-credit scene.
Yeah.
It was so obvious, and it was just, the end line was so badly written. I'm like, are you serious?
It's for those normies.
It's for those normies. There's going to be... I'm like, come on, man. Really?
Yeah.
That's so dumb, man. And then the second...
Which I was okay with. I was okay with it.
The second post-credit scene is better than the entire movie.
Yep.
It's better than the entire movie because it doesn't connect with it.
It was one scene from SpiderVerse.
Yeah, we could say that. It's a scene from Into the SpiderVerse.
And it it ends on a weird note. It just keeps going and
Yeah,
going.
I mean, first of all, end credit scenes are not supposed to be very long.
This was like 5 minutes.
It was like a 5-minute scene of this of Into the Spider-Verse, and it's like it's cool. I like the animation.
That gave me hope for it even further.
Yeah, I mean,
I really like that scene.
It's just Sony cannot get end credits right. Remember in Amazing Spider-Man 2? Have you seen it?
Yeah.
You know how they had the random scene from X-Men from Fox?
Oh yeah.
It's because Marc Webb had a contract with Fox that he wanted out of.
Was that the pyramid one?
What Pyramid one? What?
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of Days of Future Past.
Oh, it was a Days of Future Past that they showed. It was the one where they were in the. Did I say Apocalypse? What did I say? I said the X-Men Days of Future Past. They showed a clip from that movie in the middle of the credits of Amazing Spider-Man 2. And it's like, the reason is because Marc Webb had a contract with Fox that he wanted out of. And Fox was like, okay, then use Spider-Man to promote X-Men, and we'll get you out of the contract, which they did. Which only adds to the whole weirdness of Amazing Spider-Man 2, just the whole train wreckiness of that film. And this sort of gave me that vibe. It's like, wow, you're just going to promote another film?
I think this movie's worse
Oh, then what?
than
The Amazing Spider-Man 2? Oh, hell yeah. I think so, too.
This is taken over my number one spot for worst film of the year.
Oh, same. It's worst film of the year for me. I think it's just so sad. And then I remember when they pitched this film, they were saying it was going to be a rated R horror superhero film. It wasn't rated R. There was no horror, like no horror element to it. And it was just dumb. It was just dumb.
Yeah.
Again, you can't make a film about Venom without Spider-Man. He's not interesting enough. Avi Arad, who produced this film, has been wanting to make Venom for years. He's always talked about how it's his passion project. He made Sam Raimi put Venom in Spider-Man 3 against Sam Raimi's wishes. Now look what happened. You
Didn't
got
even
it.
do it right.
You didn't do it right. No one cares about Venom. Or people, the only people who care about Venom they care about Venom because of his connection to Spider-Man.
So I think it goes without saying, it's a fat one.
It's a fat one, for sure. No,
Yeah.
This film was not good. Especially in the era of good superhero films that we are in right now, we are in this renaissance of great superhero films.
It just adds distance to how bad this film is.
Exactly. Like, this film should have known better. And they had an out. Sony had an out. They could have been like Marvel.
Here you go.
Here you go. This is, like, we want to partner the same way we did with Spider-Man. Here's our, we want your input. We want your input. But then they're so stubborn. They're like, you know what? We already gave you Spider-Man, but guess what? We don't need Spider-Man. These characters are strong enough to have their own film. I mean, go up to anybody. They'll be sure to know who Morbius is.
I don't even know.
Exactly! And they're making a freaking Morbius movie. A D-list Spider-Man villain, played by Jared Leto. He's going to be Morbius.
A villain without Spider-Man?
A villain without Spider-Man. I know, right? That sounds so like, who would do that, right?
Yeah, who would?
Who would do that? Wow. Oh my gosh, dude, this film was so bad. I don't really think I have any more to...
At least it's like in the Halloween season. It still feels like Halloween-esque.
Because
it's so scary bad.
Yeah, that's what that's exactly what I thought. I was like, I didn't really watch a horror film today, but then I remembered, I watched Venom.
Oh, yeah.
I watched Venom, which was scary over how bad it was. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So, it's been a weird week.
It's been a weird week, man. A weird week. Expect more Gucci stuff. Gucci stuff. So, all right, that's pretty much the end of the podcast. I mean, that's it, right?
Yeah, so next week we're still on for it, right?
Well, next week I'm going to California, so we might try and pick a day just to do like a fun little Halloween episode or something like that, you know?
Oh, okay. Sounds good to me.
All right, sounds good. Because I'm going to Cali, baby.
It's gonna be fun for you.
It's gonna be, dude. This whole month is insane for me, man. So busy this entire month. It's freaking nuts. All right, so I guess that's the end of the podcast, and the last thing we have to say is...